Om Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. All right, so we stopped somewhere in the middle or closer to the beginning of the second chapter. And according to your proposals, we want to dwell on these concepts of the spiritual value of our life. And as we know, Sri Aurobindo describes this beautifully in his essays on the Gita, that Arjuna fell into that trap of considering human life as physical only or mainly. And because of that, he got into fear, into sensual rejection of the fight, though he was educated all his life as a kshatriya to meet those challenges, to be on the battlefield and to fight. But in this moment, he was down to earth, and suddenly he felt that it is better that they kill him rather than he will kill anyone of his teachers, his relatives, his friends, and so on. So this kind of crisis of our being, shrinking down, being afraid, as Sri Aurobindo says. And Shri Krishna immediately says, why this misery? Where all this smallness is coming from? For you, who is the noble soul, who kind of perceived life in the higher dharmic sense as fulfillment of dharma, and even higher as moksha. So if we take purusharthas as artha, kama, dharma, and moksha as stage by stage, then artha, the physicality or the property or the wealth, is the first, the ground, so to say. It is that the lowest of the kind. It's quite interesting to think of it as the lowest of the kind. And all that what we have today, this kind of commercial age of trying to promote all these physical enjoyments and goods, is actually the lowest of the Varnik appreciation of life. And then there is kama, the desire, which is covering the Varna of Vaishya, where there are some desires to be realized. And the trading of the wealth is only the means to realize those desires. And then we move even higher, where the desire is used to fulfill dharma, as Sri Aurobindo says. Rajasic sattvic man, yes, Rajas and Sattva. Notice how beautifully it corresponds with kama and dharma. So that is the kshatriya. Kshatriya is the one who is looking for dharma. And then we have something beyond moksha, someone who views the whole world as it is, from this poise of equanimity and equality. All the events here in this life are the divine events. And that is the poise he is trying to promote. He pushes Arjuna beyond his dharma, because he sees he cannot really understand the dharmic approach now, because he is bewildered, he is shaken in his faith and his being, in his body, in his nerves. He's broken. He's sitting down at the bottom of his chariot and he is crying, shaking. He cannot hold his bow and arrows. And he refuses to fight, basically. So Sri Krishna decides to push him beyond, to the higher, not to anything else, not to speak about dharma anymore, because he cannot really hear that. That is not an argument. He knows about it, but he cannot take it. He cannot accept it. Makes sense, yeah? So the whole second chapter would be this shift towards the spiritual perception. So I will, we stopped at the shloka 15 or 16. Let me continue reading and translation of these shlokas that we could go forward. Unless you have some ideas or want to clarify something from the previous 15 shlokas, then we can stop and clarify from before. If you have some questions or clarifications about the text. No? Okay. All right, I'm going then forward. So we stopped at the shloka 16, which is beautiful. Beautiful from the point of view of perfection of the concept. Na sato vidyate. I will read in my first in the chanting way, and then we'll read it as the text. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataham, ubhayorapi drishtontas tvanayos tattvadarshibihi. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvam idam tatam, vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartumarhati. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinaha. Anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Ya enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhautau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. Okay, let me translate them. Na asatach vidyate bhavach. The becoming of the non-existence of non-existent is impossible. It's quite clear. If there is non-existent one, how can he become? This is a perfect argument for the mental being. Na bhavo vidyate sataha, and of the existent one, how can there be non-becoming? So if someone is, then becoming is constant. If somebody is not, then how can he become? Just simple thought, but profound. Right? We can't figure out becoming and being, these two. You know, someone who is will have constant becoming because he is. You know? It is not that he is sometimes and sometimes he is not, or something like that. That is the becoming, actually. He may be or become not in this moment of time. He will be elsewhere, but he is. And the one who is not, how can he become then? So if that is the point which Arjuna tries to address, then it is not valid from the point of view of logic. Ubhayor api drishtontach tvanayos tattvadarshabhihi. The end of this opposition, so to say, of is and is not, has been perceived by the seers of essential truth, tattvadarshabhihi, those who see the tattva, the essence of the existence. So the opposition of is and is not has been perceived. Ubhayoho, of these both, drishtaha, is seen, antach, the inner or inside, anayoh, of these two, tatvar darshabhihi, of those who see the essence. It is quite interesting that we were discussing the same thing in our other class about the existence. Why the existence is constantly moving. Why our universe is in a constant motion. In the Isha Upanishad, they speak about this, that whatever moves, whatever the individual motion in the universal movement. Yes, all this is for habitation by the Lord. Why this constant movement? And that's what Sri Krishna will bring in Karma Yoga later. He will say that nobody can stay here without moving. We are constantly doing something. Even if we consider that we are doing nothing, that we are sitting and resting, or we are sleeping, it is also doing. It's a particular guna of Prakriti doing something. Tamasic guna of resting. And Rajasic guna of acting actively. And Sattvic guna of becoming equal, in equilibrium, in harmony. So there is a constant movement, and why this constant movement is so needed. And he says that though I have nothing to achieve here in this world, I constantly move and act upon the world, because the moment I stop moving, the world will fall apart. There's something to think about it. Why that constant movement? And I understand that in this particular way, that the one who is has to constantly become if he wants to manifest. And if he doesn't want to manifest, of course he withdraws and there will be no movement. He will stop moving. So the motion, the constant change of form, one form to another, energy is moving from one form to another constantly. We are constantly dying and being born. Everything, every atom, every energy is shifting its form non-stop. This is the way how the spirit can stay here in time and space. There is no other way for it to stay and to evolve and to be. This is an amazing thought. So it relates to this bhava and sat. Sat is the one who is, and bhava that which becomes.
Vladimir.
Yeah.
Then if the Gita is speaking of that which is exists and that which doesn't exist, then does that mean that there's one creation? There's only one place where existence came from, that it's not a continual creation, because there's just, if you are, you're here. If you're not here. So there's no opportunity to be here if you're not already here.
You lost me with the last statement. This is a paradoxical statement. Yes, there is only one creation. Yes, there is only one being, which is, well, of course, there can be as many beings as there are, because they are representatives of one existence, of one which is. There cannot be anything else here in this becoming which is not. And there cannot be anyone here, non-being, which is not. So here we are. It is all already true. Every becoming is a true being behind. As Sri Aurobindo would say, we are all here symbols, symbolic representations of some deeper, truer reality beyond. We are not what we seem. We seem to be something like self-svatantrik peoples, independent, self-existent beings. But it is not so. We represent the self-existent being here. Our soul is that being. And the consideration of this existence must be of utmost importance, and not of the representation or of the symbol so much. Symbol is also important, but not so much as that true being within, which is here being represented by this body. And we did this many times, as he said already. We've been here from the beginning of time, as previous shlokas would say, you remember. Yeah? There was no time when I was not, and all these generals. There will be no time when we are not. Yeah? So this is something, if you are here once, that means there is a reality behind it. There is a supreme divine reality which is represented here in this form. Maybe that form didn't find its utmost expression yet, but still there is behind it the truth of existence.
Sorry, Vladimir, can I
Yes,
interrupt?
please.
Yeah, I think in this verse, how do you say sloka? Loka?
Shloka.
Shloka?
Mm-hmm.
Shloka. This sloka is easily slippery in our brain. It's difficult to catch it, I think. If you introduce the word permanent, it's getting easy, I think.
Okay.
When we say something is not permanent, something is in the dynamic movement, is not permanent, right? This is, if we see our body, we have to accept it's not permanent because we are getting old every day, right?
Yeah, we're
But
constantly changing. Yeah, we
if
are
we have
becoming.
to think about something infinite, eternal,
Mm-hmm.
then is when we can use the concept of soul. Could
Right.
be
Right.
eternal.
Or self. Yes, I agree. I agree.
Self or soul or Atman or Jivatna, or I don't
Sure.
know
Sure.
which is the proper one. But I think permanent is very useful in this slogan.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for the suggestion. Permanent and impermanent. But permanent becoming can be also, I can play with words, permanent becoming. Yes, there is a permanent becoming, which is constant dying and being born in time, of someone who is. There are two roots in Sanskrit, as to be and bhu to become. And this is the play of the words, yeah? The one who is not cannot become. The one who is cannot not become. So this is kind of to think of. The one who is definitely will become, because he will be represented in some form or another in time and space in this manifestation. And how that will take place, yes, it will go through birth and death, through being born and dying. It is a constant movement. It is going on, ongoing process. It's not just that we came to the battlefield and were killed. It is going on every day. Every day we go to sleep and we wake up. We forget ourselves and we remember ourselves. We constantly doing this movement. We are preparing ourselves, or not even preparing. We live like this in time and space through perpetual change and dying. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidam tatam vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartum arhati. Avinashi, indestructible, imperishable. Tu tadvidhi, know that as imperishable. Yena sarvam idam tatam, by which all this is being manifested, or spread, or extended. Do you see the translation? English translation, most probably not.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit kartumarhati, and nobody can or slay or destroy this vinasha, do the destruction of this imperishable one. There is nobody here who can really claim to destroy the imperishable one, which is, he is. He's not born, or he's not going to die. There is a representation of this being is going to perish. Yes, it is the way how the spirit possesses this manifestation, how spirit can be evolving in this time and space, growing in time and space. When I think about it, I'm totally bewildered how beautifully he captured the being, the manifestations. He, being, who is, always is, captured his own becoming through movement, through constant perpetual dying and changing. There is no other way how he could do it. And the moment it stops, I was thinking, the moment we have the place, one point somewhere in the universe where there is no movement, suppose absolute zero, where the hydrogen is frozen, minus 273 degrees of Celsius degrees, not even yours. So if we have that temperature somewhere in the universe will collapse. The spirit would not permit that spot of minus 273 degrees Celsius because everything has to move constantly. That's how the spirit is present in time and space.
But Vladimir, I'd have to ask, what happens? I mean, you read in the Puranas, right, that we have these huge periods, manvantaras, and in between each, right, there's a parleya, I think they call it, a period of rest. Now, what's happening during that rest if it's not
maybe that is
a large death and then a giant rebirth?
Could be that is the collapse of the group soul, which is withdrawing and going into the trance to review its own engagement with this world and preparing a new Veda, new vision to engage again. But that which is indestructible, by which all this is being manifested, and nobody here can do destruction to that one. So that is the affirmation by Krishna for Arjuna not to be afraid to fight. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirinah. Finite antavantah. So coming to the end, ime deha, these bodies. Nityasya uktah sharirinah. They are spoken as of the one embodied who is eternal, who is infinite. Of the infinite one are these finite bodies. Anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Of the one who cannot be destroyed, of the one who cannot be measured. Therefore, fight, O Bharata. This is his argument. Fight because nobody can destroy him. You cannot kill Bhishma. You cannot kill Drona. You can fight with his representation here in time and space. Sooner or later they will perish because there is no other way for the spirit to stay here. So either today or tomorrow they will perish by themselves. They are already in that process. But nobody can kill them, really. So therefore fight. Conquer or be conquered. Yeah? Ya enam vitti hantaram, the one who knows him as the killer. Yaschainam manyate hatam, the one who knows him as killed. Ubhautau navijanitach, both are not discerning truly. Nayam hanti nahanyate, he is not killing and not being killed. I know it sounds for the for the materialistic consciousness, it sounds challenging, at least, so to say. So what? I want to preserve my presentation, my formation. I don't want to lose it, yeah, because some spirit there is eternal and infinite. So it's not totally convincing, as it were. I love my body. I love myself, my ego, my feelings, my life. Why should I lose my life? I have to fight for it. What is this kind of, Advaitic approach, somewhere spirit there which is not killing, cannot be killed. So is it really an argument? What is it for you? I want your challenging thoughts. We are here in the US. Yes. Yes, Bill.
I mean, slaying and dying and all this and slaying, it's kind of the dramatic thing. I had this realization that really just ruined it for me. That if I really look in your eyes, Vladimir, and the light coming out of my eyes is indeed the same light coming out of your eyes, that the self in me is the same as the self in you, then it absolutely ruined the idea that I could actually lie to you. You know? So it's just another example. If it's God talking to God, dishonesty then really has no existence either. It's not that I want to lie to you. But, I always found that fascinating that, you know, if you get pulled over by the police, you know, where I don't take my advice, actually call an attorney. But the fact is, I don't know, it's just a silly example, but I actually kind of saw in myself that I could never actually fool anybody, could I? In a sense. Interesting, anyways. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, it's a big question. What is really lying? What is fooling? Is it really possible at all? You know, in Sanskrit, we have a very interesting way of saying there is no lie in Sanskrit. You know, you cannot lie. It's kind of interesting. There is no concept of lying. Language doesn't have that. Didn't evolve enough to really create the lie. But it has another way of saying it, asatyam, anritam, yes? Something which is not true. Yes? So the truth is there, but it is not actual. It's not, how to say, applicable to this context or to this time and space. You're saying the truth, but it is for some other context, for some other time. So you're not lying. You just misplace the context. So, and it is much more precise. I believe it's much more valuable than to say lying as an active, you know, action of doing something. How can you lie at all? You can say only that. You notice that everybody who lies is actually trying to imitate the truth. At least they want to be believed that they say the truth. They don't want to be believed that they lie. That's not lying. Already there is some kind of psychology of saying, speaking. Speech itself cannot lie. Yeah, but the context in which you apply that truth can create the tension of how far it is true.
Vladimir?
Yes, Lakshman.
The mother used to say when she saw individuals, she was not looking or listening to what the person was saying, but looking into his psychic being, his soul. So for her, what you said had very little impact, you know, because truth is temporary. The truths we talk about, you know, it's a very mental, ordinary judgment. What is true today could be false tomorrow, you know. What is true this moment is false next moment. So she didn't pay. That's why she never paid any attention to, quote, societal, moral, or ethical judgments. You know, she looked deeper. This is what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna: is look beyond what your mind can conceive. You know, go deeper, see the real truth, the essence. You know.
It's beautiful. Of course, the mother was the divine mother, a very different being from us. We are listening to the words. We are kind of inspired by the speech in some way or another. And policemen would listen to what you say, but would not believe you anyhow. The more you try to convince him, the more he would resist. That's what is happening. Unfortunately, policemen cannot look deep into your soul and And of course, for the mother, it is a totally different approach to connect to people.
Vladimir,
Mm.
I think what is most difficult here with this kind of concepts is because we are handicapped, and our handicap constitutionally is our brain system is managing the information is coming through our senses as mental images, and for the own system is permanent. Every information is coming to our neuro anatomy subtract, the synapses, and what is the process of catching information. The memories are a process of synthesis of proteins, and these are structural. And we are managing this kind of structures as a permanent things. Our images, our mental images are fixed for us. This is why you can remember something for many time ago, and it's very difficult for you to accept that thing is moving or is changing, is getting old or whatever. We are working with a permanent information. This is why we have very difficulty to accept what is not permanent, what is becoming is impermanent. And this is why it's very difficult for us to accept the impermanent of what we see as permanent from our brain. Our brain says to us, this image is permanent for this brain, for always. I don't know if I can.
Yeah, this is yes, it is the being and becoming problem. Yeah, everything what we receive as being, and in that sense we fix it, and then we have a problem because that was the being of that moment of time, so to say. So each moment in time we have to be reconnecting to the truth of our being, our inner being. And once we do that, by the way, Mother also recommended this when Lakshman was speaking about how Mother viewed. She was not listening to the words. She was listening or looking deeply into the being, what being wants, its true intention. Why that being is coming and what is it saying, so to say, to her. It had to be justified by some deeper intention, which this being maybe not even aware on the surface. It could think something else and speaking some abracadabra, but Mother viewed that movement, that intention, which being has no means to express, and trying to put some words together to say something, but it all sounds clumsy and insignificant and untrue in every way, because there is no yet proper connection between inner and outer expression. So there is no training enough to be totally true outside from within. So Mother was helping the being to recognize that inner intention, inner truth. That was it. And the being could feel it. And somebody, Shyama, for example, she said, I can't forget this about the Mother. When she met with the Mother, she was very different being, like a young woman from Sweden. that was the revolution of hippies. They came all very happily, youngsters, for Auroville and so on. I mean, she met the Mother. She said, when she looked into her eyes, she saw that somebody saw her for the first time as real. Mm-hmm. This is the something Mother did to her, and she understood from that look that she is real after all. She's not this kind of representation of body desires and thinking, and she exists.
So Vladimir, every time you go to mother physically and she looks at you, first she'll smile at you and then she will just look into your eyes, always. And then many times she will look for a flower that's meant for you for that day or that time, and then she will give you a flower.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very routine with mother if you met one-on-one with her, you know.
Mm. You are very lucky that you met the mother. I never met the mother. I was born a little later. Was in Soviet Union, still struggling when you were with the mother already. So.
Give you a small story. There was a lady living in the ashram. She was working in the dining room and she was a real troublemaker. She was being a real nuisance. So Ravindraji was the head of the dining room, went to the mother and complained that she's just not being able to handle her. So he said, "Can you have her leave the ashrams?" So mother said, "Okay." Then the lady, before she left, she requested if she can see the mother. So she went and saw the mother and asked mother if she can stay. Now mother is looking at her being, as she told later, that her psychic being had a deep desire to stay near the mother, but the outer being was totally ignorant of that fact. So the mother let her stay. So you see that often, and oftentimes I tell people, what mother tells you should not always be taken as universally accepted, kind of, because she could tell you one thing one day based on what she sees is a necessity of the moment for you. And a week later, a month later, she could tell you the exact opposite thing. You know? So that tendency to avoid is to see everything she has commented to people as gospel.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Thank you for these sharings. They are very precious. There were many such examples from, if you read from the agenda, how many people tried. There was also some other kind of troublesome man, drunken and so on. But she accepted him as Ashramite. And then she said, "But what should I do? His soul, his psychic jumped out of him and sat on my lap. So what should I do with this? Should I say no to him?" It was, his inner being was ready absolutely to be there. And his outer being was totally bewildered by outer life. So this kind of difference between the inner and outer is very difficult to bridge. That is the whole process of yoga which we have to undergo, and to bridge them both. So here we are, the one who thinks that he is the killer and the one who thinks that he is killed, both are wrong. He cannot kill and it cannot be killed. He is the real one, that real which mother saw in this Shyama, and she recognized herself as real. And she said that she could do anything afterwards. Everything was beautiful. There was nothing which wasn't beautiful or difficult. Everything vanished. All the difficulties became, they're just Ananda, the flow of Ananda. Once you are, any becoming is becoming beautiful. So, Najayate mriyate va kadachit. This is the last shloka what we read. It is read in the Trishtup. It's another meter. It's not shloka anymore. It is sounding like this. Najayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. Ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. Najayate is not born, mriyate va, or neither he is born or dying. ever, na kadachit, never. He is born or dying. Nayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyah. And having become once, there will be no time that he would not be again. This is also something interesting. Something which was experienced once, Sri Aurobindo speaks about it. And this is something which bewildered me for years. Everything which was experienced once will not perish. It has the right to be. This is something we don't expect. We think that we can change, we can mutate, we can change our being. No, that what we experience, that thought, that desire, that action, whatever was there once in reality has the right to be forever. That's what he says. Has the right to be. So it is somewhere in this Akashic record, somewhere that formation, that force, that knot of energies exists and can come back to you and knock into your doors or into somebody else who is similar to your kind of experience, would call for that experience and can trouble somebody else. Your troubles can be troubles for others. You gave it right to be in manifestation. Yes, you made it real through yourself. Now it has the right to be. And the mother in 1971 speaks in Agenda about this very interesting thing. She says, you can't believe what comes to me from my youth, from my childhood. All kind of things, ideas, desires of the youth. They are still there in this, and they're still coming and trying to be relived again and again. And we know this by our experience, that certain things are still staying there from our childhood and we cannot get rid of them. We would love to get rid of them, but they're still troubling us. So what is the way out of the situation? There is a way out. And that's what Shri Krishna will say in the second half of the second chapter. You have to become like an ocean into which all the rivers of desire fall. You allow everything to come, but you are immobile. You cannot get rid of the reality. You cannot destroy it. You cannot change it. You can let it go, but you don't pay attention. You are not involved by them. You're not following them. You're not caught by them. And this is the liberation. So everything, the whole world will exist, but you would see it in a different light now. You would not be involved. So this is what is, having become once, there will be no time when it will not be. That is what is troubling me, this phrase. Having become once, it will be always there somehow. It has the right to be forever. Only it has to find its proper place and proper utility in this economy of manifestation. Ajo nityah shashvato yam purano, unborn, constant, eternal, ancient Purana. Nahanyate, he is not killed. Hanyamane sharire, in the killed body, he is not killed. So he insists on this vision of the permanent, as Siegfried was suggesting. Permanent is within us and can't be otherwise. Everything else what we see outside is a symbolic presentation in time and space, which is constantly changing, constantly mutating, evolving. And this will be always like this, as long as spirit wants to stay here in this manifestation. Okay, I can stop here for now, and we can share your ideas about this, how you see this permanent being in the impermanence, in the mutating universe, becoming being.
in regard to what Vladimir, you were saying, Mother also was to add some aphorisms, Mother or Shurbindo, I think. Like, there is no evil, like it's not in its right place. That which we call evil, that which we call falsehood is just not in its right place.
Absolutely. It's just misplaced truth, asatyam. Satyam, which has different context to fit into. And you brought it here just, and that, so we lie always by the truth. This is really amazing. We cannot lie otherwise. It's only by the truth we lie. When we say the truth, which is not in its proper context, time and space. For example, I will tell you, I am an idiot. I'm lying. I'm not totally an idiot. So it's a misplaced truth, because there is a time and context in which I will be an idiot.
Regarding permanence, I think we all find it very reassuring that that we are not really born and not really die. But this is so alien to the observations of our senses that it's hard to integrate that into your thinking, except through faith. I think faith is necessary for that, because we know nothing in the material plane that doesn't have a beginning or doesn't have an end. So this whole concept of infinity is, it's beyond the mental processes, I think, to analyze that and to accept it. So I think it's a wonderful message. I think it has to be based on, the acceptance of it has to be based on faith.
Right. That's what we read last time, and what Bill quoted in his reference. That only faith can justify the true existence of the divine behind everything, which is here as symbolic presentation of his true being. Yeah. So otherwise, it would be difficult to understand it with our senses and mind, which is tied to our senses. We have totally different experience of it.
Our very creation, the sky and the earth, is something that resembles infinite. Like, it looks, there is no end, and wherever we go, there is always the sky, and there is no starting and no beginning. So it's a hint by the creation that everything is infinite, and so to our senses it presents itself as that infinite thing.
In a way, yes, and mathematically we can find also the mathematics of infinity, and there are certain things like fractals, fractal design. Yeah, you go deeper, and infinitely you can go deeper into fractals. or the line, if you start measuring the line of the coast and you go closer, and infinitely you can approach, and there will be still some new line to find out. And there is it's something amazing about creation. Yes. So somewhere, even in the physical representation of the universe, the infinity is,
Finger where you are putting, I don't know.
yeah, it is implied. It is implied. Or it is kind of given a hint to us to look for or something. I'm just wondering, there are no same pebbles on the shore, there are no same fingerprints, there are no two identical leaves on the trees. So what else kind of proof of infinity we want? It's everywhere. Infinity is everywhere. Yes, Bill.
I would say, as an observation, and I would be interested, the long-term meditators, when I come into my heart, when I come around grace or an inspired, like we are now, the mother is here, Aurobindo is here, the teachings are here, Krishna is here. it is as though it's not a new space in my heart. It feels like the same space as it was when I experienced it 20, 30 years ago. It's new, always. It never gets old, but it doesn't feel like it's not a new truth. It's as if I come back to a place in which I have been coming before, and I go out and it all seems so turbulent and new, and the body's getting older and everything else is coming and going. But when I come into meditation here, it does seem like the same space. I'm fascinated by that. We're talking about, I think this is what we're talking about. I think they call it
real one, yes, the true
mud,
one.
yeah, the center, yes, I'd be interested. So it does feel in all the myths and emotion that I keep returning to a place that is, in fact, the same moment as it's ever been. So I'll say that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this beautiful the experience of the heart. Yeah.
We are in front of a paradox, right?
God for key.
Yeah, it's a paradox because we can dream with the infinite. We can dream with the infinite because our mind lies to us, because he have a relation with the material world as a permanent. The material world is always changing. We are aware with that, right? But our mind makes relation with the material as a permanent, and this kind of joking, this kind of joke helps us to experience permanency, and from this attitude of managed permanency, we can dream with the infinite, which we can't touch. Our mind is making lies to us and help us to dream
to
with
find the
infinite.
truth.
Right. What we say is faith.
Right, beautiful. So mind lies to us and helps us to find the truth. Yeah.
Right.
To start talking.
Yes,
Question.
Charles.
He's
Question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Vladimir, would you distinguish the difference between mind and consciousness?
There is mental consciousness, there is vital consciousness, there is physical consciousness. Yes. Mental consciousness, all right. And there is supramental consciousness, and there is transcendental consciousness. Consciousness is everywhere, like the spirit, on all the levels, from the deepest material existence. Wherever there is existence, there is consciousness. Mm-hmm. And by the way, this idea that mind is lying to us, I love it, how it is paradoxically presented, a very, very beautiful presentation. Still, I want to say that in the Vedas, they speak about Savitar, who establishes everything in its movement, and in this movement, everything can rest and stay immobile. This is something paradoxical for our embodiment, because at the same time, we are all sitting on the globe, which is whirling, which is rotating around the sun with a huge speed, and the sun flies in the cosmos nearly 1 million kilometers per hour, together with the whole solar system around the center of galaxy. That's what they calculated, the speed, 1 million kilometers per hour. We are flying with the speed, and we do not feel that we are moving at all. Everybody is situated, seated. Yeah, this is the trick of the mind. This is how the mind is lying. But the mind is not only lying, the mind is creating this universe. in these particular forms and relations. He's lying to us so much that he already made this universe in this form. And he's constantly living. If you look into our body, how many bacteria, funguses, viruses are dwelling within this system. Only our intestine has 1 trillion bacteria or something. So the whole universe is constantly moving and living within this body, and still we perceive ourselves as uniquely manifested kind of svatantra, independent being. It's an amazing wonderful creation, and there is truth behind it, because this particular being presents or represents the true being, which is always there. And that's why this formation took place and holds to itself, so to say, because there's someone behind which wants to be manifested through this impermanence. Permanent one wants to come through to the surface. So this is the Sat and Bhava. Yeah, the existent one and the one who is. So consciousness is everywhere, wherever the being is. Being is intrinsic with consciousness. Everything is aware of its own particular, even things which we don't think about as they are aware, like this can. This can knows how to be a can. It doesn't fall apart. It holds on to its own consciousness of that metal, of that formation, of that particular, how it was made. It holds on to it. It means it is not aware as we are aware mentally, but it is aware physically of its own formation. Yes, Siegfried, do you want
Sorry, I'm so excited. For me, helps the difference between material conscience and immaterial conscience. Material conscience is the process of the brain, all these kind of memories, stimulus, reactions, synapses, all the knowledge you grasp through this kind of process, neurologic process, right? Memories and all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And immaterial conscience is what Vladimir says, being, self, spirit, unique conscience. This is, for me, is the difference. It makes the difference. Material conscience is what I'm catching from the sense and what I'm thinking with my memories, right? I'm stuck it in this kind of line process.
Okay. Right. This lie itself became, as Shobinu somewhere says, Shodala was mentioning this, that illusion itself is an illusion. This is great. Illusion is the illusion. There is no illusion. There is a real one, which is constantly becoming. The one who is cannot but become, and the one who is not cannot become. It's not possible. This is, I know, it's paradoxical. It's beautiful. Yeah, we are in this paradox. As Shobin says, this life is a paradox with the God for key. We need God to open this paradox. Great. Thank you, Siegfried, for this kind of stimulating psychological analysis with our body, with our neurons and reactions. I really have no idea what we are all about. And still we are here, sitting in front and thinking about these profound matters. Thinking, maybe not, maybe contemplating, maybe becoming aware of something or not aware. But to come back to Gita is always important. Gita was meant to transform the world, to give this great message and knowledge, this synthesis of knowledge to the world to change. And in this way, of course, we are doing this work, evolutionary work. As somewhere Sri Aurobindo says, first Krishna, then me. There's something of this particular lineage. Krishna came into Sri Aurobindo's body for some reason, to do this evolutionary work of consciousness. They joined their forces to move us forward. And it is happening. We can see it. It is happening in many of us. Who could have thought that some person from Soviet Union would go somewhere to study Sanskrit, then go to India and be so taken as myself, or you here somewhere far away in another world. Why are you interested in these matters? There's something in us which is looking for answers, for the truth. In India, it is understood. India is the motherland of all spirituality. Those who are from India, they are really blessed souls. But for us, who are not? Yes, Lakshman, you wanted to say something. You are a blessed soul, twice, from India and by the mother.
You're right. I wouldn't have bet anything at all if somebody has told me that I will have somebody from the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, being so engrossed and so learned about Mother and Sri Aurobindo. I would say you're hallucinating.
Well,
but you're right that soul's aspiration didn't matter what corner of the world.
Yes, absolutely.
It's destiny.
And that shows that their work is from within to without. Their work is not from outside. It is not a propaganda of some kind of dogma or some kind of teaching. It's rather an action from within to without. That's why we are taken from within. We are looking for the real in us. Great.
Vladimir, can you clarify something? Like generally, Mother Sri Aurobindo talks about the gods are from the overmental creation, and also Krishna as that play of the overmind sometimes, and yet Krishna is the supreme Godhead within. So how are both this reconciled?
It's a difficult question, but maybe I do not know whether others know about these levels of consciousness which are beyond the higher mind, illumined mind, intuition, overmind, supramental overmind, supermind, and so on, beyond and beyond. Towards that, some of us, of course, are in this kind of philosophy, like Martha and Robert and few of us. But there are many people who are not really operating by this kind of levels of consciousness. And these worlds of overmind are svar worlds in the Veda, the worlds of the ray of the sun, yes? Where the first body of light meets the darkness, and there is the first separation is taking place. The clusters of light are being, in huge universal terms, are separated in galaxies. If I would use the image of the universe, these are like clusters of galaxies, like nebulas, being produced, as it were. And of course, these are great forces, great powers. And that light which traveled away from the transcendental into the darkness, it is that overmental level, overmental level of consciousness where the great gods are being born. Born for what? For the work to do. They project their powers in a particular way from the supramental creation, from the supermind, to do the work of manifestation. And that's why we speak about that overmental level as the place where the great gods are being born for this manifestation. Otherwise, we are all coming from the transcendental. We should not forget that. And the supermind is forging all of us. All of this, what we see around us, is the divine being formed in a particular unique fashion. You know? So I do not know whether it is answering your question, but truly speaking, there is no other source to be but that. And we are mental beings. We are not over mental beings yet. The gods are over mental beings, these greater gods, but we are mental beings. And it's already something. Though mind lies to us, as Siegfried would say, but it lies to us in a particular fashion that we will be able to find the infinite. This is a good definition.
So, Vladimir, I was about to write this in a chat message to Sigrid, but I just thought I'll share it with the group. This quote just popped up on my screen. It's from Margaret Thatcher, and it says, "Watch your thoughts, for they will become your actions. Your actions will become your habits. Your habits will forge your character, and your character will make for your destiny." So I was kind of seeing the two sides of it. So on one side, we are trying to think, well, so if I want to be a good person, I should have good thoughts, leading to good habits, to good characters, ultimately to good destiny. But at the same time, the destiny has been determined by the supramind, the all-being, the creator. So I think there are two things happening in parallel, and both of them lead to evolution, changes, or whichever way the future is determined for one and therefore to the others.
Yeah. And that determination is happening from within us, from our choices, from our thoughts, from our inclinations, aspirations, and intentions. Or suddenly some intention come to you and you feel kind of inspired to do this or to learn it. Where did it come from, actually? So why it is pushing you forward to do something? Why are we all here sitting in front of the screen trying to figure out? There's some intention in us, some aspiration to discover our true being. So that is the true source of all. And thoughts are modulating the reality in a way that we could, maintaining our becoming, discover our being. Great, thank you for these sharings. This is beautiful.
I have a question.
Yes,
So in Gita, intelligence and wisdom, both words are used. While Sri Aurobindo never uses the word wisdom, he uses only intelligence. Can you say why?
Well, these are English words. It's difficult to, prajna is not used in the Veda, in the Gita. No, used, prajna bhasha say. Yes, it is used even. So it depends how you translate. Yeah? Translation is really, it doesn't matter much. Yeah, it is only kind of an attempt to put it into another framework where the language operates differently. And it's truly speaking impossible to translate. Most probably that's why Sri Aurobindo never translated the Gita, because it's really, I do not know how one can translate dharma, yoga, all these words, purusha. It occupies a particular context in which these terms are understood. Yeah? And it is not the same in English language.
In essays in Gita, he never uses the word wisdom. It's always intelligence.
Yeah. Well, wisdom and intelligence. Wisdom is something like for the sages, for some kind of intelligence is more to the point, acting, acting consciousness within the given framework, which is more important in a way than just being wise and doing nothing. I'm interpreting this. I have no idea why, truly speaking, but I will try to check and see why and what it really means.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Someone else to share before we close for today? I don't dare to call upon anyone, so it's just your choice. You can switch on your microphone and talk if you like. Anything what comes to you, or you would like to do, or how you would like to proceed, some suggestions. Great. Okay, I'm closing the mantra then for today. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santo Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Happy on.
Namaste.